Blah 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 roasting profiles.
So, this week, coffee, the most important fluid known to man, and many people don't appreciate the hard work that can go into making a really nice cup of coffee. We're going to go from green bean to delicious cup of coffee in just 1 hour. If you want a cup of coffee, just 1 hour. That's all it takes. Just 1 hour. Let's go.
Alrighty then, peoples. Let's make a cup of coffee. As promised, we're going to do a bit of caffeine engineering and make a cup of coffee the long way. The long and hard and unnecessarily difficult way. So here we have green coffee beans. I don't know if you've ever seen those before, but this is what coffee looks like before it's roasted. So it's got a kind of greenish hue. These ones are Colombian. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roast these in the oven. Ideally, what I'm going to try and do is get about 1 bean thickness on the tray. And I'm going to just push all these ones that are touching the edge back. So they're the ones that are more likely to burn, where it's got multiple points of contact. And just kind of even that out. Stop those from touching. Right, so whoop. Now then, again, if you haven't ever tried to roast coffee before, you may not know, but coffee actually pops like popcorn. So at the moment, these beans are quite small. And then after they've got up to temperature, they'll make a popping noise and they'll kind of expand a little bit and they'll come out a bit bigger. So again, you're going to get a bit of an overflow. So as they expand, it's going to kind of push out. Okie pokey. Right, so that's them all on the tray. Next, we're going to get those in the middle of the oven. Now we're going to leave them in there for a bit. There is such a thing as a roasting profile where you want to choose how quickly you heat them up and to what temperatures and stuff. And that will vary depending on your oven. You might want to kind of get your stuff dialed in. Yeah, so let's talk roast profiles. So you want to gradually increase the temperature of your beans till they start to pop. Then you want to cool them down again once they're popped. Go wait for them to all pop though, because they'll go pop, 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 pop. They'll take a little while to pop. Then you want to cool them back down again. So it'll vary from oven to oven, but on mine I stick it on 8, which is kind of 1 below the maximum. Let it get up to temperature. Then I give it a few minutes and gradually start to crank it up until I hear them starting to pop. Then I know it's at the right temperature. I leave it there, pop, pop, pop. If you go too hot, you're going to burn them. If you don't go hot enough, they're not going to pop. They're not going to taste great. Yeah, so it's got to play around with it, get the hang of it. And then eventually you should be smashing out pretty delicious coffee beans. Anyway, when we've done that, we're going to use some of this equipment here. So let's get in here. So, what do we got? So these are all absolutely vital for your coffee making joy. So we have a grinder. This is the Porlex ceramic grinder. It's a nice one. Slight fault where the handles eventually kind of wear out. I've got a couple of handles. But yeah, it's a nice portable grinder and gets you some exercise. You could go for an electric grinder if you don't want to stay fit. Then we got a temperature controlled kettle, which I'm going to use to add some water to make it kind of like an Americano. But you don't want to boil it because that just uses additional energy, changing the state from liquid to gas. So we've got a temperature control here. We take it up to like 80 degrees. That's fine. Then we got the LaPavoni Coffee Matron 5000. It's a beautiful, I don't know which one it is. It's one of the LaPavoni ones. It's a handle, the pump, manual coffee do. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. Like, if Isambard Kingdom Brunel made a coffee machine, this is what it'd be like. Just look at the size of the bolts and stuff holding this together. It's like part coffee machine, part steam engine. It's all your dreams in one. It gives you caffeine. It makes you feel like you're working an awesome machine or like driving a steam train or something. I've tried a couple of other ones like the rock one and some of the normal just pump ones. This one, I don't know how, but it seems to make the most delicious coffee. I think it's just because of the raw pressure that you can get with this lever system. You can basically put your whole body weight on there and you get an amazing cup of espresso out of this, and then obviously you can add water to make coffee. But yeah, I love this thing. I basically picked it up cheap off eBay because it had a slight fault with it, and then I bought the rebuild kit, which was pretty cheap. Dismantled it, rebuilt it, and now it makes really nice coffee and didn't cost me very much. I think I paid like about 150 in total, and it was worth every penny. Even if you buy these for like 300-400 quid, still worth it. Super delicious coffee. Anyway, let's wait for the beans to pop, pop, pop. Alright, so here we have them fresh from the oven. Still hot. I'm going to cool them down in a second. But essentially these have still got
what's called chaff. It's a little, it's like the skin of the beans where they've popped, the skin comes off. And that's quite bitter. So what you can do is if you take this outside to kind of cool off, let the wind blow it away, or you can blow it yourself and it'll become chaff free. Okay, so we've gone from these little green beans to one of those, which as you can see, it's increased in size. So it's popped open, so you can tell if they're still very small, they're not quite cooked yet. And then if you keep roasting to a higher temperature, you'll get a darker roast like these, which have got a slightly smokier flavour. And again, it's all to taste. You can do some experimenting with roasting for different amounts of time at different temperatures, stuff like that. But essentially, yeah, this is just before it burns. You get a dark roast, which is kind of like a French kind of style. And then this is my preferred flavour, more of a brown kind of colour. Then into the grinder. So it's time to grind. I'm using a manual grinder here, which is excellent exercise. I don't actually go to the gym, just grind my coffee. That's all I do. On most coffee grinders, you'll have a setting to set how fine you want it. I just go as fine as you can. Just go super fine. And then you'll know if it's too fine because you won't be able to make the coffee. It won't pump through. But yeah, generally most grinders, if you're making espresso, just as fine as you can. You want a real fine powder. Okay, that should be about enough. Yep, cool. Right, let's start filling this doohickey up. The portafilter. Okay, so the aim here is to kind of build it up in layers. So I'm just going to put a little bit in. And then we want to tamp it down, so kind of press it down to make it into one brick. Just clean off the excess around the edge so it makes a good seal. Into the portafilter. And then into the coffee motron. Lock that in place. Now then if I had a really fancy one I'd have a pressure gauge and stuff on here, but I haven't. So just however it comes out. Alright, so on these lever machines what we want to do is raise the lever to the top. Water will enter into the chamber and mingle with the coffee. The two will become friends. It'll take maybe 10 seconds or so. Fully fill, let them get a little bit wet, and then what you want to do is press down firmly. You're going to need quite a lot of force, hopefully. It's a good way of telling whether you've ground it properly, because if it goes down too easily, you probably haven't ground it fine enough. So I'm just pressing down with quite a great deal of force on there. As you can see, delicious coffee's coming out. As we're using a 2-shot portafilter, I'm just going to give that a second thing. So I'm just going to let that raise up. Throw that down. Yeah, this is where you get mad triceps. And there, my dear fellows, is a delicious cup of espresso. I don't know if you can make that out. Got a perfect crema on the top there. Now then, I'm not normally an espresso drinker. I will normally add that to some hot milk and water just to create just a standard Americano style coffee. But honestly, learning to make your own coffee to your own personal specification, it's the future, baby. It's the future. Takes 20 minutes or so, but it's delicious. Okay, so we have our espresso. Now I've got a mug with some full fat milk. Nom nom noms. Right, so we're going to use the little steamer here that's built into this to warm us up some milk. I'm just going to turn it on until steam comes out. And I'm going to wang it in the milk. Be very careful, obviously, when you're dealing with steam. Steam is hot. Okay, so now we have our hot milk, we have our espresso, some of that in there, a dash of hot water, not too much, but whoa. Well, there you go, that's how you make yourself a delicious cup of coffee, and it only takes, what, hour? 45 minutes? Just for one cup of coffee? But it's worth it, it's worth it, it's the good stuff. Oh, it's a shame you don't have taste-o-vision. That is the absolute balls. Hey, if you got any questions,
stick them in the thingy. If you want to see some more nerdy stuff, like and subscribe. It's normally headphone and audio stuff, but hey, who doesn't like a delicious cup of coffee? We might do some other stuff as well if you like this. Anyway, nice hanging out. See you again. What?